Southern California fall cool evening. I want to appreciate you taking the time to join us here today. We have a great lineup of panelists, all of whom are MSJC employees, all of whom went to community college and transferred to a four-year school, and they're here to share their experiences with you. Before we get started, we'll do so in a minute or two. I want to take the time to thank all the people who have made this event possible, starting with the Student Equity and Achievement Committee, particularly Rebecca Teague and Dr. Alma Ramirez for their funding and their support. One of our co-sponsors is the Transfer Center, so I want to thank them and their director, Professor Scarlett Worth. The Latinx Indigenous Alliance was the main supporter of Native American Heritage Month, and I want to thank them, particularly the leadership. And we have the director here tonight with us. We're fortunate to have him, Professor Elias Escamilla. And I want to thank the staff from Student Life and Development, particularly Suzanne Ortega and Jose Fernandez for all their support, from the flyers to the Zoom meetings and the YouTube streaming. So thank you all very, very much. Before we continue with the program, I'd like to read a small Indigenous land acknowledgement. We want to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered. The land on which MSJC operates has been the site of human activity for thousands of years. The area has been the home to many Indigenous communities. Today, this land is still the home to Indigenous people, including the Mission, Luisleño, Morongo, and Torres Martinez tribes and nations. We are honored and grateful to be here today on their traditional lands. Very good. So now we're going to move on. We're going to hear from Professor Scarlett Worth. She's going to update us on the MSJC Transfer Center.
Hi guys, my name is Scarlett Worth. I'm the transfer coordinator for the Career Transfer Center. We actually have like tons of workshops every week. We basically offer CSUs, UC workshops. We have personal insight question workshops as well. We also have one-on-one application appointments. So if you basically come into our student hub, you can actually schedule an appointment. We can help you one-on-one. We also have technicians that can help you review the application before you hit submit. We help you with the next step process as well. Sometimes it's really scary because you don't know what's next after transfer, after you apply. So our center does help you with the whole process through the transfer. We help you with transfer scholarships, and we also help you with kind of understanding your financial aid packet and how to transfer everything over to the CSU, UC, private, or out of state that you're actually transferring to. In our website, you can actually find all the workshops. You can sign in as well. I'm also like a transfer student. Basically, I started in Mount San Jacinto back in like the year 2000, long time ago. And I transferred from Mount San Jacinto to UC Riverside, and in my journey, I didn't actually know that UCR was more of a traditional school for students who basically needed to be there full time. And I was like working, I was helping my mom who had like 6 kids. And so it was really difficult for me to actually stay in the UC system because I had to work a full-time job. I was working at the college at that time. So I transitioned from a UC to a Cal State. So I feel like I've been in every single system you can think of. And I went to Cal State San Bernardino. I was able to work and go to school full-time. They had like a really good schedule and it worked for me at that time. So it really, really helped me. Then once I graduated from Cal State San Bernardino, I was able to go into like my master's program at University of Redlands. So I went to a private school. So it was like a really good transition for me. It basically helped me through the process. So I know exactly what you guys are going through. Like students are working, going to school. I was a single parent at that time too as well. So just know that we're here for you. We're here to help you. And anything that you need help with, like our transfer center basically is there to walk you through. And we can help you step by step as well. And please make sure to check out our website. We have basically tons of information and our workshops are there available to any student. We have an upcoming workshop on Saturday for students who are working and going to school during the week. We actually are providing from 9 to 12, basically workshops so that we can help you during the weekend as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Worth, and thank you for sharing that personal aspect of your experience.
Oh, thank you.
Next, I'm going to pass it to Professor Elias Escamilla, the leader of the Latinx Indigenous Alliance here at MSJC.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Tavares. Dr. Tavares, I want to thank you and your leadership for putting this panel together. Really appreciate that. And for those that are participating today, thank you so much. All I got to say that this is actually a kickoff to the Native American Heritage Month. We've designed it this way. We need you to go onto our website. We have some fantastic speakers, fantastic panelists, much like yourselves, that will be speaking to us throughout the whole month. So we encourage your participation. For the audience, and of course those that are participating as well, encourage your students. And students, if you're chiming in, we have a lot more coming up in the next 3 weeks. So this is only the beginning, and we are so excited. And I really speak for the whole committee. The committee has worked tremendously to put on other events that they have done so very much. But again, on behalf of the Latinx Indigenous Alliance Committee, thank you all for your support, and thank you. And you guys have a wonderful, awesome time during this next hour. Thank you, Dr. Tavares.
Thank you, Professor Escamilla. All right, so let's jump in. I want to hear from our panelists. I would like to start by having each member introduce themselves, their role here at the college, what community college you went to, and what four-year skill you transferred to. And since Professor Borton is on the upper left of my screen, I'm going to ask her to start us off.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Borton, and I teach Spanish at MSJC. Thank you so much for having me here today. I did also start at a community college. I'm from Northern California, a city called Santa Rosa, and I went to Santa Rosa Junior College. Right after high school, I really wanted to become bilingual. And so instead of starting college right away, I moved to Spain for a year to fully immerse myself in the culture and to study the language intensively. And so when I got back, I thought, okay, I need to stay at home, live at home, save money, go to the junior college. And so that's where I started. And it was there that I was able to participate a lot on campus, get involved a lot of my Spanish classes on campus with my Spanish professors. I knew that was like my passion. And I was able to meet and I didn't know it at the time, but in just chatting about my personal interests, I've always loved animals. And just talking about cats, I happened to meet a very woman who asked me to start house sitting for her. And it turns out that she was the department chair of the Spanish department at Sonoma State. So she quickly, right away, we just clicked, and she became my mentor. And so it was just a natural transition to go to Sonoma State. And I got my bachelor's from Sonoma State University. And she really was my mentor. It was so important to have her relationship, her guidance, her advice, her constructive criticism and feedback really helped take me to graduate school. And I knew I wanted to spend more time abroad in a Spanish-speaking country. And she mentioned that she did a master's program with New York University in Madrid, Spain. And so on a whim, I applied and I got in. And so I ended up doing the same master's program that my department chair at Sonoma State did, Dr. Elizabeth Coonrod Martinez. So I'll just throw that out there. Thank you for all you did for me. And then, again, importance of relationships. I became really close with one of my professors in the NYU program, and she recommended the department chair at UC Riverside to continue studying Peninsular literature. So it really was important for me to have these relationships and these mentors along the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Borton. Great story. Monica, you want to go?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Monica Salcido, and I am currently an administrative assistant in the instruction office under Dr. Alma Ramirez. I started at MSJC in 2015 after not being in school for almost 20 years with children. I got my GED, and then I said, you know what, it's time. So I went back to college and I went to MSJC. I was in ELPS. I was in a bunch of different programs, CalWorks, all the programs there. And I actually got hired as a student worker in the instruction office under Dr. Tavares. Yay. And I worked there for 2 years, going to class, working, taking care of kids when I got home. And then being in that office, they kind of pushed me. They said, you know what? I graduated in May of 2018, and they said, you know what? Don't stop there. Keep going. So I kept going, and I ended up at Cal Baptist University. I did a fully online program, and in February, I just got my bachelor's degree. So in sociology. So right now, I'm just working from home. I'm still, at MSJC, and I'm looking into master's programs, but we'll see. Just with everything that's going on right now, it's just, hard, but I do feel like I want to continue and I want to get my education. So I am looking into master's programs. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Monica. You're an absolutely great student worker and a great student, and it was great to support you. Next, why don't we have Professor Claudia Gutierrez tell us her story.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Claudia Gutierrez. I'm currently the interim Puente counselor, co-coordinator of the Puente program for the San Zeno campus. A little bit about my story. I graduated San Zeno High School and then came to Mount San Zeno College. I spent there about 2.5 years before I transferred over to University of California, Riverside, and obtained my bachelor's degree in Spanish because I was going for teaching at that time. Then after a few years, got married, had a family, then decided to do my grad school program, which I had decided because by then I had been working at MSJC as well. And I saw the urge and the love to help students, so that encouraged me and had the passion to help students. So I decided to go for counseling. And when after that, I waited like 7 years before I started my grad program and went for counseling master's degree at University of Redlands with Ms. Scarlett Worth here. So we've shared a lot of our stories together and supported ourselves as well. I started at MSJC as a student in the 90s, then transferred to UCR, came back in 2008 as an employee for Department of Enrollment Services, and also at the time, Career Transfer Center. And then in 2013, I became a counselor. So, and I'm doing that as now, and I love it. Best thing I chose. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Gutierrez, and we're very fortunate to have you, especially the Puente program and the students. Professor Alarcon, would you like to go next?
If I can get my unmute button going. Yeah, absolutely. All right. My name is Herb Alarcon, and I teach history on the San Zeno campus when we're normally on campus. And I had started my love of history when I was a little kid. My dad was a traditional longbow archer. So when I was a little kid, we used to dress up in costume and go shoot longbows. And then I moved on to like Renaissance fairs and just did historical recreation throughout my entire life. And I was not a good student in high school. I wanted to be a rock star. Literally through my 20s, I thought I was going to be a rock star, and I had jobs just to keep the rock star dream alive. But then I got downsized and went back to school when I was 33. And living here in Hemet, I just naturally went to Mount San Jacinto, knowing that I wanted to be a history teacher. So I think I was one of the lucky people that I made it easy on you counselors. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and all I needed was just what classes are available so I could take them. So I started at Mount San Jacinto, and I then transferred to UCR and did a double major in classical studies and ancient history at UCR. and then I transferred to Cal State San Marcos for my graduate work, or my graduate work. And there I studied ancient history, but with a focus on digital presentation and preservation of history. So it's a really unique program, and I got to really learn a lot about not just like online teaching, but actually the internet, like the history of the internet, how it works, and how powerful it is. So it was a really important step. And the whole time that I was going through school, I worked for the Mount San Jacinto SI program. So I started as a tutor in the Learning Center, and then when the SI program started, I was the first SI leader on the San Jacinto campus doing anything other than math or science. And then I stayed literally with that program all the way through graduation. And I literally had every position in that program other than the full director. I was the co-director. And because I was able to network and stay in touch with everybody, I feel that helped me greatly in getting a job when I came back here to Mount San Jacinto. Started as a part-time teacher, and then after 3 years was able to secure a full-time position. And I really owe that to the kind of open environment that Mount San Jacinto has, where they really do embrace people coming back to the campus and either working or teaching for them once we've moved on. So I really got to thank everybody, especially Professor I call him Dean Tavares because that's what I remember him or know him as. But he was my first dean and really was super encouraging when I first started, because I was pretty rough around the edges, and he really helped me out a lot. So that's my story. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Professor Elizondo. It was great to see you walking around the San Jacinto campus in your toga, ancient Roman outfit, son. Deans of Student Services, Dolores Smith.
Well, hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm really excited to be able to participate in this workshop series tonight. And just to tell you a little bit about who I am Dean of Student Services, and currently the departments I do oversee are EOPS and CARE, our TRIO programs, and veterans. And so I just want to give you a little bit, share my story about my experience. I am actually, it's saying my battery is running low, so I just plugged it in. Don't want to get cut off. In my experience pursuing my education, at the time in the 90s, I was considered an untraditional student. I was a single parent who was pursuing, went to community college. I went to Southwestern Community College down in San Diego area. I was also tied to the military. I was known as a military brat. You guys know that term is for dependents of military families. And so I had a very interesting upbringing, being able to live, in and out of the country as a kid. And so when I started to pursue, and what made me want to pursue higher education, during those early 90 times, jobs were plentiful. And I would, get jobs and be really, working towards promotion opportunities, and then got stuck when I was told you need to have a degree in order to go any further here. And so I just made up in my mind one day that if I do not get a position, it's not going to be because I don't have the credentials that's needed to have that position. So with that, I enrolled in community college, and I enrolled as a 3/4 time student because I was a single parent, as I said, and was working full time. Uniquely enough, as I was in school, I landed a work study position. And I was doing a work study position in financial aid, and I wanted to know how you get one of these jobs, And so I just, one thing led to another, and I got an entry level position, and it kind of took off from there. And I was fortunate; I was able to go ahead and work the job at college, be a parent, and pursuing my education. It kept me motivated because I was the student and I was the employee. And I'm sure many of us can relate to that. You know, it's harder, but it also is motivating because it put me in an environment that had people saying you can do this when times got rough, when it was finals, or there were classes I was taking that I was really struggling in. So it's so important to have your network of friends, colleagues, faculty, groups. It's so important to keep you motivated, and it did for me. And so once it took me 6 years to get my associate's degree because I was going, 3/4 time, and I had a son to raise. And so once I completed that, I transferred to San Diego State, SDSU. And this is all while going back and forward, being transferred as far as military too. And so I was there for a quarter, 2 quarters terms. And I decided I'm going to be here forever. I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue. And so with that, I remember there was a transfer fair, and I met with several different representatives, and I decided for me, I was going to continue my education, working, pursuing it at National University. And so because it was just, the courses were, fit for me being a working mom full time, and trying to do so many other things. So that worked for me. And I completed my bachelor's in business administration, and HR was my minor. HR management, human resource management was my minor. And then when I was going to quit, at that point, someone told me I should be happy I have my bachelor's degree. And so you can, and I should stop there. And so one thing about me, never tell me I can't do something, and so it just really motivated me again. And again, the family village, it was a village of folks who really motivated me to continue to pursue my master's. And as I worked my master's, I was able to take some time off to write my thesis. And I received my master's in education, and educational technology was my minor. So that's my story. And like many of us, like I said, I was considered the untraditional student at the time, which now is not the untraditional student, is more of the traditional student now. And the journey was not easy, but it was definitely well worth it. And I had a group of friends that taught me so much in being in the educational environment. And here I am, not only still working in that environment and also pursuing my education. It really helped keep me motivated to continue until I completed.
Thank you very much for sharing another just a fascinating story. So some of you have touched on this already, but I was wondering if a few of you more wanted to talk a little bit more just about the challenges you faced at being a community college student. I mean, all of us, it's not ever easy for anybody. We want students to kind of hang in there. So do any of you want to kind of chime in on that? Those tough periods, those challenging periods, what kept you going through those times? Go for it.
Yeah, it was a little tough going for me because I had, being, that like was just said, being a non-traditional student, being basically older than everybody at the community college, or at least it felt like it. I know there was, people actually older than me, but it always felt like every class I was in, I was always the oldest. And so it was hard to kind of like have a college experience, so I think it's really, really important that you find a group or whether you join a club or you find a study group or something, because I did feel quite kind of like, I don't want to say alone, but just kind of, and isolated is too strong a word, but again, sitting in the class where I'm thinking I'm 20 years older than everybody here, was kind of hard and kind of weird. And even when I transferred, it was the same kind of thing. But finding just a few people, like I had the SI program or tutors in the learning center, that was just a really great group of people to hang out with. And so if I ever felt like demotivated, I just go into the learning center and hang out with those people that were all energized and young and ready to go, and it helped. So, but that was one thing I noticed, is, being a little older.
Thank you. Go for it, Monica.
I kind of struggled with the same thing at first because I hadn't been in school for 20 years. So when I thought college, I said, oh, well, I'm going to be the oldest person there, I'm 35. And when I got there, I found a different story. MSJC is full of a bunch of different kind of people, and I didn't feel so isolated. And then I found the care program, and there was a bunch of moms just like me, and it really helped. It really helped. That was my place. I would go in there and study and do my test. And I met Timmy, and Professor Alarcon was my first teacher at the college. So there's that. But it was just getting to know people, EOPS and care, they helped me so much. And it was just, once I got hired on as a student worker, that was another thing, that instruction office, everybody there was always so welcoming. And then even in the LRC, in the library, I didn't feel so alone. When I first went there, I was so nervous, and I thought, I'm going to be the oldest person here. There's only going to be full of, 18 and 19-year-olds, and, I'm going to be old. But when I went there, it was full of so many different kind of people. And it was just me, finding my niche and basically care. I was in that office 24/7 doing my work, trying to get as much done as I can, because I did have help at home. So it was easy for me to stay at the college to get work done, because I knew at home, 4 kids, little kids at that, I wasn't going to be able to get work done. But it's just, find people. You can find people. There's so many types of different people there. And it's so helpful. Everybody that I went to always helped me. I always felt so welcomed when I went into certain offices. And, so I just feel like, find your people. You can find anybody at MSJC, even the staff. They're always just welcoming. So that's thank you.
Thank you, Monica. What about some of you talked about having families and going to school? How did you balance that?
I just didn't feed the dogs.
They went hungry, huh?
Yeah, that balancing act, and sorry for that little interruption earlier. My
no problem.
Power went down. But that balancing act is definitely that. Again, I had said earlier, you having that village, that cheering, section, if you will, you'll be surprised how people jump in and just try to, hey, if you need to study for, a couple extra hours, or, I remember one semester I was on campus and I wasn't feeling well. And I was getting ready for finals and I wasn't ready. And I went to the health center and to get something, and the nurse was there, and she started asking me questions about how I was doing, and I just let her have it. She didn't really know what to expect, and she asked me, and it was like blah, and so she kept it cool. She was kept it cool, but she was there, and she gave me such motivation on why I need to continue on, and there will be roadblocks and the outcomes. So I say that to say that you just be amazed the kind of support that you'll get in maybe spaces or places you wouldn't expect it. you know, and you know, and especially here at MSJC, there's just such a camaraderie spirit of, you know, wherever you may go, from the frontline person, you know, all the way up, that will just be there to cheer you on and give you the support that's needed, because you're here. We're here because you're here, you know, and so we know that. And I think just having that support, you know, juggling your families and your obstacles. Monica mentioned about the programs that helped her. It's so important to get and tapped into, and it really helped me be able to pursue my educational goals. So having that network where, if it's the maintenance person that, you know, is working in the evening and you're taking night classes, and they could, clean up that facility for you, to, you know, all the way up to your professor or an administrator. Everyone helps with having that network to give you the motivation you need. And that's definitely been my story.
Great. Great. Thank you very much. I know we have a question from the audience. I want to get to that, but first I wanted to ask Professor Borden how her parents felt about you taking a year off and going abroad, and were they completely supportive about it?
Bye. No, they really it really was helpful to have such supportive parents. I got a postcard in the mail. I mean, this was back in 1999. So I think if we had the internet, it was dial-up. I think we had pagers. I don't think we had cell phones. So I got a postcard in the mail to study abroad with American Institute for Foreign Studies. And I thought, well, I really love my Spanish classes, and I get good grades. So I think, it's good. And so I studied abroad the summer before my senior year of high school. And so I had some experience, but they really were supportive. I mean, I just got some random postcard in the mail and they were like, okay, yeah, go for it, which was really helpful. But I remember getting to Spain and thinking, wow, I have so much more to learn. This is great. So I really wanted to go back and fully immerse myself for at least a year. And they were always really supportive of that. And I'm really grateful for that.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. So Professor Escamilla, you said we have a question from the audience?
We do. One just came in, a question from Veronica Perez. In my position, I come across students getting easily discouraged from coming back to school after so long. Any words of advice for those interested yet scared to come back? Anyone?
I can give a little quick advice, because that kind of was my story. Again, I was working in jobs where I was making money, but when I wanted to promote, I was stagnated by needing some type of higher education credential. So I say, if you're waiting to find the right time to do it, it's never going to happen. Just do it. If you're feeling it in if it's kind of toying with you inside that I want to move, I want to do something, I just don't know what it is, but just take one class, and just get yourself going. And then you'll start to develop a rapport. We have great counselors, we have great faculty, you'll develop some type of rhythm and connect with someone. And then for me too, I had to get rid of some of my folks that wanted to party, and they didn't really want to, study. And, I lost friends because my goals were different. My goals were changing. And so I had to get around like-minded people. And here we are now, a new club. So instead of partying, we would be spending, maybe burning the midnight oil, getting ready for, an exam, and at a coffee shop. But we still were having some fun while we were at it, but we were there, and then we were like-minded people. So maybe surrounding yourself around people who will encourage you to push, and then just take that one class. If you're not ready full time, just take one class and get in there, and then it'll go from there.
History professor.
I always just tell them, I mean, the same thing. There's really nothing to it but to do it. And what it really comes down to is we fear stuff that we don't understand, and school is the perfect place to learn and understand about those things. And so literally by facing that one fear, you're going to gain so many tools to be able to, you know, face any of those fears or not fear any of those unknowns later on. And so literally just that one step can get you such a large tool bag that it's totally worth it. And like Dolores said, one class can totally turn you on. You know, I came back as a full-time student, but so many people I went to school with started out like, you know, one class, and the next time it was 2 classes. And the next thing I know, they're taking more units than me. So that's what I would say.
Very good. Thank you. One of the main issues students have is that they think they can't afford going to a 4-year school. So I was wondering if some of you might be willing to share a little bit about how you approach that, especially the financial part of it, and how you handled it to make it happen. Go ahead, Monica.
So when I started at MSJC, I was on CalWORKs. I was a mom, and my family were on CalWORKs. So that's when I went, you know, CalWORKs does kind of promote going back to school. So they kind of pushed me, and I said, well, how am I going to, I mean, for me, the way I grew up, college was always something for, you know, people that had money, not for anybody like me. So I was like, well, how am I going to afford that? And they, you know, they told me they can help you. And I said, what do you mean? They go, yeah, they help you pay for it. And I'm like, are you sure? So I went through that whole process, and it was, I'm not going to say it was easy for me. It was tough. I hadn't been in school for 20 years. I kind of didn't know where to start, but CalWORKs did help. And it's just, it was a struggle at first, but then when I started taking classes, I was like, well, they're helping me pay for my books. They're helping me, you know, I'm getting money for going to school. They're giving me extra money on top of my CalWORKs. And then that's when I met Timmy in the CalWORKs office. And then she told me, well, you can get a job here and you can get paid. And I said, what? I haven't been, you know, working for a long time. And I did work, but I worked like, you know, warehouse jobs, you know, McDonald's, stuff like that. But I had never had like a office job where, and I said, so, you know, it was a struggle at first, but, you know, right before I graduated MSJC, so I did start off, like they said, 2 classes. I took history and music. Those were my first 2 classes. I said, I'm not taking math or English right away. So I took history and music. And then from there, it just motivated me. I was like, well, I can do this. I can do this. So the next time I took 3 classes, and then I ended up a full-time, and I graduated in 2.5 years from MSJC. And the financial part, it just fell into place. Like I realized they do help you. I can do this. They pay for my college. Not 1 cent did I pay. Financial aid supported me the whole way, and even into my UC. So it's possible. I mean, I was on CalWORKs. I had no, you know, I had no income, put it like that. And by the time I graduated MSJC, I was off of CalWORKs because I was working full time. My last semester I was doing online. And so I was off of CalWORKs. So it's that first step, just, and the people at financial aid are so helpful. And you can finances, like I said, I thought that it wasn't for me. I thought that there was no way a person like me could afford to go to college, but I was wrong. And anybody can go to college, anybody.
I would add too, just, you know, you'd be surprised what resources are out there. You know, I remember, you know, for me, as I mentioned earlier, I was working full time. So I was maybe $1 or $2 off from receiving some of those benefits that were available. So what I did is I started looking to see what kind of scholarships were available. And I tell you, those little small scholarships add up. The $200, the $300. I went to, my family, any organizations that they may be members of that offer scholarships. I applied. The churches that I'm connected with, or family members, connected with, I applied. And then there's those resources right at the college. I went in, and like I said, I had kind of an in, so I wasn't able to get some of the things that were at the college as far as some of the programs that were there. But there's other resources as well. As you transfer to the 4-year institution, there's a lot of resources there as well for at the universities, outside scholarships that really could help you, and you'll just be surprised and be amazed. It does take a little work, because you will have to write essays and meet those criterias, but it's definitely well worth it. I did not have to take out loans until I got into my bachelor's program. And so I was, fully funded through, some of the Pell Grants I was eligible to receive, along with, the scholarships that, like I said, the 200 book scholarships here and there, I was able to really, it really helped me. So it's affordable. If your mind is set to do it, you'll be amazed how your doors will open. And again, that's where that network comes in, because if your instructor knows of a scholarship and you're talking to them and while you're pursuing your education, you might get a recommendation. So that's where it's important. But the resources are there. Don't let that hold you back, because once you set your mind to it and you're determined, doors will open up for you, opportunities will open up for you for financial resources, and it's not easy, but it's available.
Thank you very much. Good advice. Claudia, I think you wanted to jump in here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that even if you don't think that you would qualify to receive financial aid, just give it a try, submit your FAFSA. You have nothing to lose, because I didn't think honestly that I would qualify. And when I was in college, I did qualify and was surprised to be going to school and getting paid to be a student. So it was awesome. And resources like Dean Dolores said, always network with other students on campus, be involved, get informed, be intentional of your education, and you'll find a lot of resources available to you, that are possible. I applied for a scholarship. Never thought I was going to get it. I was the only one that applied, so I was able to get $500 added to my transfer, educational experience. So it was awesome. Always, I recommend, even though it's a little bit of work, but it's worth it, 100%.
And I'm sorry, I just wanted to add to when you talk about resources financially, like for example, MSJC, we have the food for thought distribution that defrays costs, because if you're able to get some help with groceries, that's more money you could keep in your pocket. So it's all of those resources that definitely would help for your funding your education.
Very true. Herb, did you want to say something?
I just want to say also that when you go back to school, it's amazing what you can find you can do without. When you have to re-budget and you start thinking, when you're not going out and partying with your friends, I mean, that's 30, 40 bucks right there. And so we often, when you go back to school and you reprioritize what you're doing, it's amazing how you can come up with what you need and find those resources. Because like everybody said, there's a lot of resources out there if you're just intentional about finding them and intentional about what you're serious about.
Very good. So we have about 15 minutes left. There is one more topic I was hoping you all could talk about, and maybe I can call on Jennifer to start us off, and that is that transition to a 4-year school. How is that the same? How was it the same for you? How was it different? And do you have any suggestions for students to make that change?
So I kind of like to go back to my year abroad when I was 18 by myself and thinking about how I had to really learn how to navigate things on my own, which meant I had to ask a lot of questions and get a lot of different answers, but I couldn't give up. I had to figure it out. But I couldn't do it alone. I needed a lot of help along the way. And so I think a good point of departure would be to think about your own personal experiences and how you've navigated life so far and what has helped you to get through obstacles and how you can apply that to a new environment. So I knew that whatever I went through to become independent and to learn how to navigate this new environment when I studied abroad, I took those same things to and applied it to when I started at the junior college. I'm completely new. I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. What do I have to do? I have to ask a lot of questions. So I just put myself out there. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And then the more you do it, the more relationships that you build, your classmates, your study groups. And then it all sort of works together because when that all comes together, you learn about all of these opportunities. And so it really is important, like everyone has been mentioning a lot today, these networks. And so, every time you get to a new campus, when you transfer to the 4-year, not right now, but when we're able to, walk around that campus, take your map and just walk around, look at all the departments. And then, virtually now we can do these searches where, I really love Spanish. Let me check out the Spanish department at the school that I want to transfer to. Or maybe I don't know where I want to transfer to yet. Let me check out all the departments. And maybe I'm between psychology and Spanish. Maybe I'm going to check out the websites and the faculty and see what their research is and their publications are in. Maybe look up their office hours. I mean, I was just researching everything I could. And then, put yourself out there, email. And, I'm always a fan of just like, you don't know if it's going to work out until you try. And so you apply and you email and you ask. And then whatever you get back, maybe you ask the same question to 10 different people and you get 10 different answers and you have all sorts of information. So, really just sort of thinking about the relationships that you're building. I know it's scary because we're in a new environment and we're unsure of where to go or what to do, but ask. And everyone, I think, is really wanting to be helpful, and you'll make a lot of great friends. And then, the good experiences with campus life will come with that.
Great advice.
One thing I would say is, you kind of, like Jennifer said, researching the school that you're hoping to go to or schools you're hoping to go to. And even the nuts and bolts of like, is it a quarter system versus a semester system? Going from, Mount San Jacinto College to UCR, going from an 18-week to a 10-week quarter was a huge transition, but I knew it was coming. But whereas many of my fellow students that transferred didn't, and they really had a very hard time with that time transfer just in that first quarter, but that first quarter can really sink you. So as long as you go in prepared, I think that's a good thing. But again, you want to look at not necessarily just the program itself and who's teaching, but literally things like, where's the campus? Where do you park? At UCR, if you show up late, it's a mile or plus walk. Right. And so you got to think, I need to always be early or whatever. And those things are important for your success. 8 o'clock classes were not good for this guy right here. Right. And so I had to think about those things, especially that first quarter where everything was moving so fast. And so just a little bit of pre-planning really makes that transfer much smoother. And like Jennifer said, everybody's willing to help you. All you got to do is act like you're interested, and we just jump at that, right? Because we have so many students that necessarily aren't that interested, that when somebody is, we just really want to help. So that's my 2 cents.
Sure. Yeah, it's great that people want you to succeed. That's an important thing to keep in mind. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Elias, hold on. I think Elias, do we have another question from the audience?
We do. This one just came in. Question from Nick Garcia. To all of you, when did you realize that you were affecting people by your positive example?
Wow.
Mm.
So I could tell you a quick story about I was working in EOPS and going to school, and I had a situation where a student came in. It was around the lunch hour. And during that time, our office closed for an hour because we didn't have staffing to cover, you know, the open for an hour. So we closed for an hour, and it was the doors were getting ready to close, and a student came in so stressed out, and they just didn't know what to do. They wanted help. Every office they had went to at the time, you know, they just wasn't getting the service that they needed. And so they came in, and now I'm getting ready to go to lunch. And so I'm like, okay, you know, because there's never a quick question in these environments. So, but something about this student who had a little toddler with her came, and I helped her, and I actually walked her over to admissions and got her taken care of. And we became, you know, every time she needed to come into the office, you know, she would always look out for me, and we became each other's motivators. When she graduated, she was one of the speakers, and she spoke about, you know, her challenges, but she also spoke about her success and from the support of staff at the college. And she spoke of two people in particular. And she told the story of the time that she came into one of the offices, and she didn't name the person. And she came in one of the offices, and she was, if she didn't get the help that day, and she told that story so passionately, if she didn't get the help at that time, that day, she didn't know if she would still be there alive. Because what she was dealing with in a very abusive situation at home, you know, she was just not getting anywhere. And so at that moment, I mean, and I'm like, oh my God. And people that knew, my co-workers at the time that knew who, you know, knew the situation, they're like, she's talking about you, Dolores, you know. And so, but she never told me that story. So I say that to say, you do not know how you may be impacting people's lives when they come to you for help. And so that moment, that's when I just fell in love with, you know, working in EOPS and serving, you know, students. And that's when I knew that, you know, it's bigger than just the aid. It's bigger than just you are impacting lives.
Wow, that's a very powerful story, Dolores. Thank you for sharing that. Well, we have about 6 minutes. Oh, go ahead. By all means.
I just, in history, you know, a lot of times you just talk about stuff, and it sometimes becomes kind of matter of fact when you're talking about wars and things like that. And we have a large veteran, you know, combat vet population with MSJC, not just people that were in the military, but people that actually saw combat. And my dad really suffered from PTSD from Vietnam. And so when I would bring that up, I had a guy come and tell me almost the same thing as Dolores. And it was like a couple of semesters later that just something I had said in class had like kept him around, you know, made him go talk to somebody. And that's when I knew that what we do is really important, because you don't know who you're affecting. You don't really know, you know, because he didn't really come to me. I said, oh, hey, this happened. You know, it was a couple of semesters later where he just saw me on campus and said, hey, I want to tell you something. Right. And that's when I knew that no matter how, you know, this whole COVID thing works out, we still have to keep doing what we're doing, because it's really important.
Monica, I wanted to ask you to go back to that. That was a great story. Thank you for sharing that, because all of you with the interactions you have with students, all of you are really having a big impact, a very positive impact. And that's very inspiring to all of us as well. Yes, Jennifer.
I just wanted to add to that, to sort of look at it from another perspective, and just so that students know that you really positively impact us as well. I absolutely love my job. I love going to work. I love seeing students. When I step into the classroom, it's like this fun, safe, fun place. And you know, if I have preoccupations and I go into my classroom, it's like for at least that time of class, I'm fully focused on our classroom and what we're doing and enjoying the learning experience together. And I am so amazed and inspired by our students every day. And I just can't thank the students enough, honestly. I feel so lucky and grateful to work with students every day. You're all amazing. So thank you for positively impacting my life, and everything I do at work, I try to improve to help students be the best and have the best and to succeed. And so I do that because I just really enjoy working with students. So thank you.
Well, those are very inspiring stories. I know as an administrator, I'm sort of removed from the day-to-day interaction that many of you have with students, but I live vicariously through you and the good work that you're doing, the important work that you're doing. If any of you have any last thoughts, we'd be glad to hear them before we go.
Well, I just wanted to say to you, you may think that you don't have an impact, but you really had an impact on me. You gave me that position. You pushed me. You always helped me. You were always there for me. So you did have an impact on this student. And just to put that out there.
Well, thank you, Monica. And I was helped, you know, when I was, I did attend a community college as well. And I transferred to the University of, I was at Daytona Beach Community College. I was living in Florida at the time. And I had some really good instructors who encouraged me to, you know, transfer to a four-year school. And I wound up going to the University of Florida. And I had some great instructors there who really encouraged me to go to grad school. And that's how I wound up in Seattle. And so all of us have been helped along the way. And I'm just glad to be able to help students and help students by helping others. It's just very inspiring to work at a community college and to support all the great work that's being done here. So it's getting close to 7 o'clock. Go ahead, Dolores.
I just wanted to piggyback too and thank you too, because although you're saying that you're not in contact, anytime that we've had our EOPS, our TRIO, Upward Bound, and Talent Search recognitions for our students, you have been there. I don't think I don't remember a time since I've been overseeing those programs that you haven't been there. And just being there to show the support, show the students that an administrator is taking the time to participate says a lot. So I just wanted to put that out there too and let you know how much we appreciate your efforts and supporting our categorical programs.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to support your programs. I know Jennifer and Herb are involved in PTK and honors. All of you, Claudia with Puente, Monica with her participation events, you all go above and beyond. Scarlett, Jose, Cynthia, all of you are just giving it more than 100%. And we're all very proud of you and proud of the work that you're doing. It is 7 o'clock. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. So I want to thank all the panelists, Professor Borton, great Spanish instructor, Professor Alarcon, amazing history instructor, Monica Salcedo, knows pretty much everything about instruction. Claudia Gutierrez, just an amazing counselor, been helping students for years. Dolores Smith is just doing an outstanding work here at MSJC in many departments. I want to thank Scarlett Worth for all the great work she's done. Professor Escamilla, another counselor, and Cynthia Garcia, who help students every day. And I want to thank Jose Hernandez for his technical support tonight. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, all of you out there who participated. I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Fun, fun.
Bye.